friends, back here with my friend Thad Joyner today. Well, there he was a minute ago. He'll be back. Thank you for joining us. We have a very large crowd today. I hope I can pull this off. I'll have to say my team is not in the office. It's just me, so we'll see whether I can manage this technology on my own, but I'll do my best. We're trying to keep you guys up to speed on what we believe is going on in the market, and just we'll give you the disclaimer right here off the bat. We do not have all the answers. We are sharing a lot of people's ideas, and thank you very much to the people who participated in the survey that was put out by ECEC last Friday, and I'll tell you how that shook out toward the end of this webinar, what they presented to Congress last Friday. We hoped that we would have a bill passed before we did this masterclass. So there's some things with staffing strategies that are a little uncertain right now, but we can talk about things to watch, and we will shift our strategies depending on how that looks, and hopefully when it gets approved today. So thanks for joining. Keep the ideas coming. The team at Hinge loves you guys. Our heart's breaking for everybody out there, the things you're going through, and the fact that there's no right answer. So you guys are not only struggling to make moment by moment decisions with very confusing information, and then there's no right answer. So there's criticism no matter what you do, but we recognize that. We're here to support you guys. If you just need a phone call or you have a question, certainly reach out. We'll do everything we can to help you. We don't know everything, but chances are we can get you to a good, solid resource. And there are a lot. I'm so respectful of the people who are stepping up in the last week with webinars and information. I hope you guys are staying plugged into some of the other organizations that have information coming out quickly, because there are some great ones. So let's get into the meat of this. We got a lot to talk about. We know you guys have a lot of questions, and we want to try to hit as many of those as we can. It might be difficult, and we'll get back to you with more information. We'll be doing pop-up webinars whenever we think they make sense and they're a good use of your time and relevant. So look out for those, but also we'll put out written information as we learn more and can help you strategize what to do right now. A couple of things really quickly. No big surprise that all of the first of all, we were to launch this week our financial workshop in Portland in September. We are not going to launch that registration because we don't know what that will look like, but we will not let you guys down on that. If we can't hold it in person, we will find a way to do it in virtual form. So we will get your data, we'll look at what's going on with you financially, we'll give you some ideas, and we'll hold a class and on the web if we have to, but slight delay there. Not surprising, every conference that we intended to speak at this spring is now either postponed, online, or canceled. So Georgia's Childcare, excuse me, Childcare Association, this is pollen. This cough that I have driving me crazy. I go outside and that's what I get, cotton ball in my throat. Sequel in California will now be online. AELL is postponed, and McCormick is also postponed, but we'll look forward to seeing those guys as soon as we can. So I want to introduce to you guys my friend Thad Joyner. Thad is somebody who I've known for a long time. And are you on here, Thad? Okay, we can't hear you right now. Thad was having an internet issue. Maybe we can have Thad call in. I'll introduce you. I'll say things about Thad. He can correct me later. So we'll get started with the content while we're trying to access Thad. Thad and I met at a conference in Las Vegas about 15 years ago, I would say, maybe not quite that many. Thad was getting started with his childcare company, and we had a group of schools listed for sale. When we got back, we showed those to Thad, and he bought them. We after that put him in several more. And he ended up with 12 schools in the Atlanta market. I think Thad is a master strategizer. He's a master marketer, and he built his schools quickly and successfully. About 8 years ago, we sold those schools for him, and he began doing other things. So now he started a branding company you might have heard of, Better Beans Branding, who focuses on the industry. He also owns restaurants, which, you know, they're getting hit as hard as we are right now. And Thad since has opened 2 more childcare centers. So he is coming at this, approaching this from a business owner's perspective in 3 ways. And as you can imagine, there's a lot coming at him right now. So I really appreciate him working with me over the weekend to put this content together and bring you a lot of the ideas that we are both hearing. So Thad, are you there and want to add anything to that? I'm going to start making up all kind of stuff if we can't hear you. Okay, Carrie, I know you're there. Maybe we can get Thad on the phone and at least hear from him.
Kathy, he's trying.
Sorry?
He's trying to get in.
We're trying to get on this phone. I hear him. Thad, are you there? So I thought it would be me that would have the problem without Carrie here to help me, but Carrie's working from home and I'm working from here. So we want to touch real quickly on some good strategies to make yourself stronger and relevant right now with everything that's going on. And in the midst of, I know this sounds like a lot, but in the midst of everything you're dealing with, do I close? Do I stay open? Do I keep my staff? Should the staff go? What do I do about major expenses? And those are going to be our 3 main financial strategies for you guys. Obviously, they're the big 3, right? What are we doing about tuition right now? Where other income sources? Are people charging? Are people closing? What do they do? And so we'll share some creative things we've heard. We'll talk about staffing strategies. And again, we hope that we would be past this incentive bill and have a clearer path, but we'll talk a little bit about what that might look like. And then we want to talk about your rent or mortgage structure. So those are your 2 largest expenses and some strategies there. And then we have some other ideas about things that you can do to help with your expense control. If any of you guys lived through 2009 and 10, you saw an economic step back. We've never seen anything like this. So we're making up strategies as we go, but some of those are basic strategies that in any slowdown you would employ immediately. So here at Hinge, we've done the same thing. We've analyzed all of our expense structure. We've found out what's essential and what isn't. We've canceled things. We've reduced things. We've made the decision proactively to keep expenses that we know will help us do better work and support you guys in this difficult time, even though we're basically shut down for transactions right now. So you guys will make some of those decisions too. And in the meantime, we want to stay in front of our customers. So we want them to know we're here for them. We want to communicate. There's some great strategies with web-based communications, written communications. There's a lot being shared on the web. If you guys haven't seen, I think most everybody's past the point where they did letters to their parents to talk about the decisions they're doing. You might have to edit those as you make the decision to stay open or closed. But there's some great ones being shared on social media. We have access to some of those, and we also put together one that was a good basic one to start with the basic information plus some optional strategies you might choose and include in your letter. So certainly reach out to us if you have a need for that. As we talk today, if you have questions, if you hover over, mine's at the top of your bar, you'll see a Q&A section. Go ahead as you go and put questions in there, and then we'll follow up. We have maxed out with 500 participants. This recording will be available within a couple of hours after we finish. So feel free to listen to it, share it with people. But we will do our best to get back to you guys with your questions. So, Thad, are you there? Maybe I should get him on my phone, Carrie, and we can hear him from here. We're just going to call him up. Let's do this old fashioned.
Kathy, I'm already on now.
Oh, you're on now. I'm just a little too slow. Okay, but I was going to do the old fashioned thing, Thad.
Well, I'm watching y'all on here. It's just for some reason things are frozen. But I see you smiling, and if I say a joke right now, I'm pretty sure you'll laugh.
Well, so how'd I do on introducing you, Thad? Was all of that true?
Some of it was broken up, but typically you embellish, so I'm sure it's slightly worse than whatever you said.
Well, I think a lot of you, so it was embellished, but all from the heart and true from this end. So I started out with, we don't have all the answers, but we want to talk about the big three, which are income, staffing, and rent or mortgage strategies. But we want to talk about some other things as well. So right here, to get us started, I wanted to talk a little bit about some ideas to be sure we're staying in front of parents, whether they're in the school or they're not, whether you're open or you're closed. What strategies are you hearing that, or are you using in your own schools to be sure you stay connected? Because we really hope this is a couple of weeks and we're all back in action, and we want those parents right back and children right back in our schools. So give us some thoughts here.
Yeah, so first, thanks for having me, Kathy, and thank you for Hinge being such a conduit for so many different single-site owners, multi-site owners, big national guys, just being a huge resource for everybody. You do amazing work, and I appreciate it, and I know at least 243 participants appreciate it as well, so thank you for that. First and foremost, speaking daily to different childcare owners around the country, the biggest thing I believe you can do right now is make sure to, put your big boy and big girl pants on and don't avoid parents. So you need to get out and have real one-on-one conversations with every single parent and go ahead and find out where they are. I mean, you need to tell them where you are. You need to find out where they are and what they're thinking. Don't leave next week as a guest. Already know what's going to happen next week. You cannot make any plans if you don't know what's going to happen next week. And the only way to really know is to get out and talk to every parent one-on-one. So if you're a multi-site owner, each director needs to go face-to-face, one-on-one, phone call, and talk to them, not just email or text. You need to talk to everybody to find out where they are. So I think that's one. Most of our child care owners are doing a good job putting letters out, posting a letter, sending an email, or making a Facebook post. I will say all of that's important. You need to have a clear, concise message. They need to know that you're in there fighting every single day for what they have. And if you need to send an update email every day, send an update email every day. I know there's groups that I'm a member of that, we have quarterly calls, and then we're like, hey, let's have a call and just talk about what we're going to do. And that's turned into an everyday call, right? So it's an everyday check-in. It's an everyday figure out what's going on, because I know today, it was kind of funny. I'm vomiting at the mouth, so just shut me up if I'm going too fast, Kathy. But I know today, I went and looked at emails this morning. It was like 5:30. I started just pulling up last Monday's emails I sent out to people. And the difference in what I was communicating last Monday as to what I'm communicating today, I mean, that was like 6 months ago. We're in a completely different reality than we were a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I promise you a week from today, it's going to be the same thing. A lot more changes than we had this week. So daily communication, daily calls, and expecting your directors to put in those phone calls to parents, I would say is very important.
Okay.
That was the biggest word I could come up with for very important. I was trying to think of a smarter word. That was why I had the delay, but I don't really have those in me right now.
That's a great word. Believe me, there's so much incoming and fuzz. I'm saying the craziest things right now. I know you guys feel the same way too, but we're all just trying to support each other, and I'm depending on my team to say, wait, what did you mean? So we're all a little crazy, but there you are. Hello.
I've been there. You just don't, my mouth's going to stop moving in a second. I'm just going to make sure you hear me on my phone.
Okay, there we go. All right, anything else to add to strategies to be sure you keep parents engaged or keep staff engaged, or maybe you want to talk about staff when we get there?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk there, but I do think, we do have some best practices for, we have some things set aside later on a couple other things, but I think being, another item that has come up with parent engagement that I've heard that there's some parents that are upset that we're open, right? I've heard that around the country, like, hey, you shouldn't be open, you should be closed down. And I've heard, parents upset that we're closed, right? And that we should be open for the essential workforce. I know I had a long talk with someone with the Georgia Childcare Association, and I said, look, this is a complete community-based decision. I trust that childcare owners are, we know how to handle infectious diseases, one, and we're pretty daggone clean, and we know what to do and how to report and everything else. And we've been very responsive in this situation. But every community is different. I mean, some communities have outbreaks. Some communities are more at risk. Some communities are less at risk. Some communities have more hospital workers. And so I think it's a complete community-based decision. And, owners need to be super confident, and make the ones that are open need to be very clear. We're here for the essential workforce and to take care of our community, and we're going to do it as clean and healthy and safe as possible during that time. So I think that daily communication and putting out good messages on either side of the open close issue, the message needs to be clear and consistent across the company.
Fantastic, good. Thank you for saying that. And I've noticed the same thing too. It's so confusing. This state says do this. This state says the complete opposite. This state says close down, but we're going to open up pop-up programs for essential workers when, we're
That's right.
here. Right, so just a lot of confusing information. So let's talk about decisions people are making around whether to charge tuition or not. So whether you're open or closed, do you charge tuition? How do you communicate that to families? What's your overriding thought on that?
Well, for March, I mean, depending on I don't think it really matters. Most of us incurred our largest expenses for March the first week of March, right? So we all paid our mortgages, our rent, our insurance. We paid ahead on so many things. I have no problem. You should be asking for and probably, expecting to get full tuition for March. Now, will there be some people choose not to pay? Of course. But I don't think for March that you should have made any changes personal. That's my personal opinion. Now for going forward, that's going to be, again, a community decision. However, here are the best practices I feel like we've gotten. If you're open, you should be charging something past their vacation week, in my opinion. You're going to be expected to have some teachers there for the families that need you. You're going to have rent if you decide to stay open. You're going to have insurance if you decide to stay open, trash service if you decide to stay open. Some of those, irregardless, if you decide to stay open or not, you're still going to have those expenses. And I think most of the people that are getting laid off, almost assuredly with what's going on in the government right now, everybody is going to be getting paid for some period of time. Now, whether they're getting unemployment or whether they're getting furlough from the, money from their company, or, the 2 weeks that is currently being proposed, the 12 weeks for FMLA that is currently being proposed, your families are going to be getting paid something. So I think they should be paying something to stay in your program. Some of you are going to be scared of that. The best there's certain strategies that are out there, but to me, there should be some percentage of tuition due, even if you're not coming for the month of April, and probably going forward past then. My goal at our company is to keep everybody paid for as long as possible. We want our teachers and their families to be paid. We really don't want them to just collect unemployment off the government. We really don't want to lay them off. We want, look, at the end of the day, this economy, this country is going to come back. Now, whether it's a month from now or 6 months from now, it's going to come back. And when it does, I think a lot of people are going to be entering the workforce, and we need all of our people back. It's things you can add of value for the folks that aren't coming, I think is important. Some real good quality programs like are doing some digital learning for the ones that aren't there. So, I know that, ours are doing morning circle time starting next week. So, we're going to do like an hour program in the mornings for every classroom. The babies will get, a little bit of like yoga time and some baby sign language time, like one-on-one time. It'll be Zoom calls just like this for all of them. And we're going to put together a craft, and things all the way up through the school age program. We're going to do something digital as well, so that we're still delivering some type of value and getting to pay our teachers for a little bit of time. So yes, they should be paying.
That's a great idea. What will you say, because we have heard this from some people, that people just lost their jobs and immediately withdrew. So it's like you said, some people are not going to pay you regardless. Would you have them change their strategy at all? Let's say someone had 50% of their parent base just withdraw, not pay.
Did I lose you?
There you are.
Okay, I'm here.
Yeah. Did you hear my question? You're muted, Thad. So we'll get Thad unmuted. We've heard from a lot of you guys that parents just withdrew, whether Thad's right, and I agree with him that most workers will either are being paid or will be paid. I do know people who have let workers go and laid them off already. But we are hearing from a lot of you guys that parents just withdrew, and of course they won't pay you. One of the things we want you to be sure and know is, where are you from a cash perspective? Cash is all that matters right now. And the game will be to bring the cash in. It sounds simplistic, but bring the cash in as quickly as possible. Defer the cash that's going out. We have some ideas about that. There you are. Hey. So, we have two Thads now, and neither one of them are moving. So we understand you guys have fixed expenses that go on regardless. Know where you are with your cash resources, and we're going to offer up, what cash do you already have, and we'll offer up here shortly some other strategies for getting additional cash resources in. I think we're hearing from most people that feel like they'll be okay for 2 or 3 months cash-wise. What do you think about that, Thad? Do you think most people have reserves or a strategy for parents to keep paying and to help the staff with unemployment that will keep them operating okay for a couple of months? I'm just going to go on talking. We'll get that in here when we can. Some other ideas we've heard from people are, we have some, like I said, so cash in as quickly as possible, outflow as slow as possible. So we've had some very creative ideas, like ask parents to pay you now their full tuition in exchange for a discount or vacation weeks in the future. So I thought that was very creative. Because if you said to parents, I need you to pay me right now for the next 4 weeks, but in the fall, I'll give you 2 weeks free, then it doesn't feel like you just took everything away from them, and you should be able to support that better in the fall, is the thought. Another thing was, if you continue to pay me, we will not do any tuition rate increases for, next year. I don't know how much you can commit to. But if there's something that seems like a give and take, it gets them focused on the future, and you get your cash today, that's the general idea. We have other clients who are providing emergency care for essential workers, and Childcare, a nation's largest group of 1,600 schools, is open in 400 of their 1,600 schools, and in the areas that they felt like they could best serve essential workers. And then we have some other clients who don't typically offer after school care, who have added that to their program since elementary age children are out of school. So a lot of creativity in what's going on around there. I hear you now, Thad. You want to talk about tuition issues?
Oh, yes. Let's love. Perfect. Yeah, so I do think as long as we are going to continue to fight for our teachers and our program, we need to be charging tuition and kind of holding parents to that. Your question right before I got cut off was, what should we be doing about parents that just max exited? In reality, you probably can't do a whole lot other than fight for them with things like, a half tuition. You can call it a guaranteed placement fee. We are locking in, I know some programs that are locking in rates for the next 2 years if they continue to pay the guaranteed placement fee. I know some folks that are going to give discounted rates for the people that are going to do guaranteed, placement fees and help us through this time. Because the bottom line is every single person is going to be getting some sort of relief from their company that's getting laid off. So I get it. They don't want to pay, but the reality is that's what we need to keep our program going, to keep our buildings open, and to keep our good teachers and to have them when their families are ready to come back to us.
So Dad, we just got the question, how can you charge when they aren't working? And what I'm hearing you say is they might not be working right now, but they will be paid.
That's right.
Okay. And some of that and the answer to what and how much and when is dependent on the bill that should be voted on today, hopefully. So we don't have all of those answers, but we do generally believe that employees will be made whole.
Well, and one reason why the government is going to be giving a lot of relief to the families is so they can continue to work or can continue to do things and can continue to pay their bills. And one of their bills happens to be their childcare center.
Right. Okay, so we talked about get the money in as quickly as possible. So be creative about the programs you're providing. I love your idea about staying engaged with families through circle time. Encourage them to continue to pay you, to stay on your waiting list, even if it's half. You'd rather have half than zero, so be creative. Also, we want to hang on to as much cash as possible, so we certainly want to take advantage of the deferral of tax payments. Thoughts on that, Thad?
Yeah, so and I'm hearing from a couple of CPA firms today that could even be deferred more. Now, understand right now, just so some of you aren't putting this off, right now you still have to file by April 15th. You just don't have to pay.
Changed on Friday.
What's that?
Filing date has now been deferred to July 15th.
Oh, perfect. So I knew the payments were, but now if the filing just got changed too, that's fantastic.
Yes,
one other thing that came in was that it could be deferred longer as well. So if, for instance, you have a large sum of money that you know you're going to owe for this year, I would be getting it into something safe and interest bearing a little bit. Because let's say you get to wait another 12 months, you just don't want that chunk of money sitting somewhere not doing something for you. So something that's very safe and secure, but that will be there for you, you know, for the next few months. So it wouldn't surprise me to see it delayed again or deferred again.
Agree.
In fact, I bet it will be deferred again.
Agree with that completely. I know it. How are you advising people that you're talking to, or Thad, you and I talked about that you were going through the application process yourself for SBA disaster loan. So tell us what you know right now.
Yeah, so as of right now, I've spoken to a couple of different companies, but the application process online is super easy. It really doesn't take you longer than about 30 minutes to fill it out for one company. They're not even asking you how much money that you want at this point. I think there's just going to be a formula, and they're going to grant it. Right now, the proposal is that these are 1 year, a little over 3% interest. Sorry, no payments for 1 year, and they're 3.25% interest rates. I am applying for them for every single one of my companies. So 11 different entities at this point, and I am about halfway through applying for all of them. I will tell you, if you try to log on in the middle of the workday, it's going to take, you know, the system's a little slow. But if you log in the morning, you know, 6 or 7 in the morning, you can get through them pretty quick. They're pretty easy, pretty painless. You know, according to our Treasury Secretary, it looks like to me we're going to, they're saying money maybe within 3 weeks coming, which would be unbelievable. I don't know how they'll do that, but if they do it, it'll be the biggest logistical success since, you know, like World War II, moving stuff around. It'd be huge. Yeah,
so we're encouraging everyone to go through that process. So if you have 0 interest loans, there's no reason not to take the money. Take the money. We don't know what's going to happen. Be sure you have the cash reserves, and if you don't need it, give it back. I know if you're like me, you really don't like that to be the first choice, but we certainly are encouraging everyone to do that right now. Okay, so let's talk about other ways to slow down the cash going out. So Thad, do you want to talk through these and others?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So yeah, so I guess starting early last week, I was kind of early to a few of my guys, and now I'm about to call them all back and ask for more than I asked the first time. First call, start at your biggest expenses and work down. I think there's you know, it's kind of overwhelming to like look at your ledger or look at your P&L and start figuring out who you're going to ask for money from. Let me say this. You need to ask for breaks for every single one of your expenses. Even if it's a $12 a month subscription, call them and ask them to give you a couple months off. It does not matter which one it is. But start at the biggest and work your way down the list to the smallest, because the biggest one may take you the most time. So for me, that was banks. So the first thing I called on was all my mortgages and all my business loans. The second one was landlords. You know, then it was utility companies. Then it will be my children's private school. They got their email from me. So no different, you know, just for instance, you know, my kids are, you know, middle school and elementary school age, and they go to a private school here in Atlanta. And I went ahead and emailed them for the same 50% deal that, you know, I expect to get for everybody else. So, you know, if it's good for me, it should be good for them.
Dad,
so start at your biggest expense. What's that?
Could you share with us your experience with utility companies? Because I'll have to admit that one hadn't occurred to me yet. Are you having any success?
Well, yeah. So you know, it depends on what you consider utilities, but all my gas companies cut my therm rate. So I got break on gas. Now, granted, that's a couple of months too late unless you're living in a cold weather state, but I still got it cut. It's still something. We also got a water break on a couple of the fees that were some of their little trash fees they throw in at the end. I got breaks on those. We got break from Comcast Internet. I got a break from, I don't know if you consider internet a utility. And then we went through our phone bills and we cut a line out at one business. We got a couple trash fees taken off at one business. So yeah, I haven't gotten anywhere on electricity yet.
Yeah, well, I'm impressed that you got those other things. So thank you for that. And let us know if you get help on your electricity. We'll certainly all be doing that. Okay,
I may
so
promise them that I won't tell anybody, and that's how I get the deal.
okay, well, we'll all be quiet.
Okay.
So start with the highest dollar amount. Obviously, we have limited time, so work your way down through it. Get some help if you can. One of the things I did was sort our expenses the same way that Thad mentioned. And obviously, we all have team members that aren't fully engaged right now. And so I just went to the team and said, what do you guys think about this expense? Can we do without it at least for a certain amount of time or forever? It's a healthy exercise to go through anyway. And then we delegated different expense areas to people because I can't possibly do it all. So we are making some progress there. Some of the other ideas we've heard are to begin doing your own cleaning. If you hire a cleaning service, maybe you cut that out for a while, try to renegotiate or stall other services like lawn care and pest control. And we understand those people are business owners too, so those are tough choices, but these are tough times and we want you to still be here a few months from now. Do your vendors offer discounts if you prepay? I'm not sure that you really want to do much of that because like we said, cash is a commodity right now. Maybe you have
I want to argue with you on that, Kathy. I want to argue with that on that.
All right.
Okay, so if you are sitting, because this got into you wanted me to do some opportunities section maybe at the end, but I think this is a huge opportunity. If you're sitting on some cash, right, there are a lot of things that would be cheaper. So, for example, one of the things that I'm going to propose to our children's private school is to give them a large chunk of money and have them paid up for the next 3 or 4 years, right? In return for, really only paying about 40% of the tuition. Now, they may say no, right? And they might, but I bet you that, of these 259 participants we have on the call, if my child went to your school and I said, hey, look, how about I give you $5,000 and this is good for my 2 kids for the next year? A lot of you are going to start taking that money, I bet. So you could do the same. What's that?
I like that. That's a great strategy.
There's 2 ways to make money, right? So, you make money off of saving it, but you can also make money off of the buy and saving future money. My family had a cruise booked for, a couple of weeks from now. And, they offer you 100% cash back, or they offered you 150% credit for a future cruise. Well, I took the 150% credit. That's free interest I'm not making anywhere else. Yes, I would love to have the cash back, but that's too much money. And I know at some point we're going to want to go on a vacation again, and 50% goes a long way. Plus, like I told another group, I'm going to be on the first daggum cruise after they go back out, because that's going to be the cleanest that place has ever been.
That's true. And the customer service will be wonderful.
That's right.
Okay, great.
So
well,
I will argue on that. I think there's some opportunities, especially over the next few months. If you were planning a remodel or you knew your building needed it, hey, you're going to be able to cut 15, 20% off that cost sometime in the next few months. And if you have it, or if this, an SBA loan allows you to do it and you're going to spend it, or you were going to do it in a few months, this may be the time to pull the trigger on some things like that, because the price is going to be so cheap. Same as if you want to grow your company. There's going to be a lot of people that want to sell their business. 6 months from now that don't want to deal with this again.
Yeah, true.
Who is S. Gordon asking better beans for a discount? I love it.
I love it.
That
Fantastic.
was pretty daggum funny.
Fantastic. Great question. How do you respond to that, Thad?
Absolutely. I mean, look, make no mistake. I mean, look, the next 6 months, things are going to be cheaper. I mean, the contractors are going to be cheaper. Design time is going to be cheaper. You know, look, I mean, it's just like if you want to, if I wanted to grow my restaurant business right now, I'm going to be able to go scoop up. I'm going to be able to go scoop up people. You know what I mean? Like I scoop up competitors, people that don't want to deal with this anymore. And so I'm just speaking. I mean, I don't want to be an opportunist, but there will be opportunities for win-wins for people that are ready to go, for building, you know, adding on signage, or for changing out your carpet, or for, you know what I mean? So there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and absolutely look for opportunities to make money on the buys. I mean, I have an addiction. Oh my gosh, Roberto, give me a break now. I'm not an so I have an addiction. And so some of you may understand this, some of you don't, but I buy youth baseball bats. All right. I coach youth baseball and youth football and all that, but I coach youth baseball, and I have an addiction to buying baseball bats on eBay and reselling them or whatever. And honestly, I just collect them. I have a garage full of baseball bats. My wife uses them to beat me over the head because she keeps seeing Amazon boxes show up with new baseball bats. But I promise you, over the next few months, there's going to be no baseball season. I will be buying baseball bats left and right because they're so daggum cheap. And I know next year I'll be able to, you know, get rid of them for more. So look for different opportunities. That's all I'm going to say. Look for opportunities to buy as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a couple more things to talk about here, and then we want to talk about rent and mortgage strategy. What's your recommendation for people that have a credit line in place already? Draw it down and do what?
Well, I mean, I would make sure with your bank that it's going to stay in place. And as long as it's going to stay in place, there's no reason to draw it down yet, unless you've got a place to put it, right? Yeah. So no reason to pay interest until it's time, as long as they're not going to call it due or close it down. And nobody's going to close up credit right now because banks are going to be hurting as well. So they'll be looking to get it. You need to be responsible with it. I would extend them. Like, so if you have only 6 months left, I mean, I'd be calling them going, hey, look, you know, we need to get this pushed out a few years or something like that. That's what I'd be doing with my lines of credit, but absolutely get them in place. If you have other places to get lines of credit, look to open them up, and be ready. And on the other side of it, if you are sitting on a lot of cash personally, and some of you are very successful business owners, understand you're going to have opportunities to lend and be a cash lender to other people in the industry. You know, so be ready to do that as well. Your cash is going to be king.
I agree. Are the phones already ringing over here at Hinge with people that realize, if you've been through cycles, that we will about to have some great growth opportunities. So agree. Last thing in this section I want to share is something you guys probably saw the email from us on Friday, polling people about what their current situation was on behalf of ECEC, which is the Early Care and Education Consortium. And this is a group that is mainly the national providers came together and formed this coalition on behalf of the industry. They spoke at our conference in Miami, and we were really intrigued to know about all of the work that they've been doing on all of our behalf. And I promise you that these guys are not only interested only in themselves. Tom Wyatt, the CEO at Childcare, took a call with me last Sunday morning and shared with me everything they were doing. He connected me with their lobbyists. They've not now hired a PR firm. And what came out of that survey that you guys completed was information that went to the Senate on Friday. I should say to Congress on Friday. And I just want to tell you guys what was proposed. Who knows what, if anything, will come out of what was proposed by that group. But they sent information that, first of all, they want childcare recognized as essential, and they want our workers to get hazard pay and to be seen as essential workers. They were saying that 75% of the member centers expected to be closed by the end of this week. They would expect to see a 70% reduction of staff in the number of children served. So that was the data they collected. What they're asking for is $50 billion in dedicated relief funds to childcare providers. That what they want to do is pay providers to cover their ongoing operational costs. So one thing that was mentioned on the phone but not in the letter was about 25 to 30% of most businesses' costs or fixed costs that are there, whether you're open or not. They're trying to get some money in people's hands to cover some of those. They wanted co-payments or tuition for families. They wanted co-payments eliminated and full tuition for families that get paid through the government. And I know a lot of states have already committed to that, at least for a short amount of time. They wanted to find and pay substitute teachers where needed. They wanted sick leave for educators and funding to providers to cover that cost. They want higher levels of compensation for teachers in the form of hazard pay. They wanted to pay some resource and referral agencies to help people get reconnected to centers when they're able to go back to work. And there were a few other things that they also included in there. But this is about 15 of the nation's largest companies that are fighting. I've never seen a more passionate group of people. So these guys they are out there fighting the good fight. And it is not only for their benefit. Obviously, they want to do well, but they're fighting for us all. And that's greatly appreciated. We'll keep you guys posted as we hear more about that, but that fight is out there specifically for the early education industry and not just small business in general. So that's what we hear there. Thad, let's talk about strategies for staffing. We talked about this a little bit, but there are a lot of questions about do we ask people to stay home? Do we ask them to come to work? What if they can't come to work? Are we firing? Are we laying off? And I know some of this is going to change based on what gets passed in this stimulus package, but talk us through some of your thoughts there.
Okay, my first thought is that everybody on this call needs to email their senators to pass this stimulus bill or to decide on the stimulus bill before they go to bed tonight. I mean, we've got to get some answers. So many of these staff cost strategies are not going to be finalized until we can't make decisions really until they finalize this. I mean, this morning we were told pretty clearly by the Treasury Secretary that he does not want small businesses laying employees off yet because there's so much in the stimulus package for small business owners. But, the Senate hasn't passed the bill. So however you land politically, it doesn't matter. You have 2 U.S. senators in your state. They need a letter from you today, and it does not need to be fancy. It just needs to be, hey, we need help. Small business needs help. We just need answers. Even if they're not going to help us, just tell us you're not going to help. And that makes our decision easier. So right now we're just having trouble making a decision. So anyway, that's first. Second thing is, mostly to answer your specific question, mostly you need to be very careful about your hour cuttings and stuff, depending on your state. You need to know exactly what the unemployment rule is right now. For instance, in Georgia, if you lay off an employee right now, or I'm sorry, if you cut an employee's hours right now, you owe the difference in full-time, the full-time rate and what you're actually paying them. They're owed unemployment for that. And you are also supposed to self-report that. So you need to know what's going on in your unemployment. Yes, cut the hours, but you need to understand what your responsibilities are in reporting their unemployment and your responsibility to your employee to let them know what they'll qualify for right now. So make sure you're doing that. Anybody that is high risk or self-quarantining, yes, get them out of your building. Pay them if you need to for the next couple of weeks until the answer gets back. But you don't want somebody that needs the money risking it and coming to their building. You need to get them paid. Other than that, the best advice I can give, Kathy, is right now, until we get guidance on the new stimulus package, I don't think it's a good idea to do anything with your employees yet.
Agree with that. And if you guys, there are some people who specialize in employment issues who are holding webinars, and I agree with that. Until we know what this bill looks like, it's, we can talk about possibilities, but look online, ask us if you need some connections, because there are people who are focused on advice just around those issues. And then let's talk about strategies. And you mentioned this earlier, Thad. You mentioned some strategies for your mortgage payments, but let's talk first about mortgage payments, and then let's talk about rent and what to go to landlords with.
Okay.
Mortgage payments.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Don't interrupt me again, Kathy. You didn't think that was funny? Okay. All right. So here we go on the mortgage. That should be your first line of things to go cut. Your bank is absolutely 100% prepared for you to call them. Thanks. Carrie Roberts thought I was funny, Kathy. So there you go. Anyways, your bank is ready for your call. So get on the phone with them today. Some of your bad bankers out there will point you towards the SBA. You need to tell them, if they do that, listen, SBA is about taking care of my employees and keeping my operating expenses going. I need 120 days of relief. Start there. Start at 4 months. You will, I would ask for a 4-month deferment or a 4-month forgiveness and work back from there. At worst case, almost 100% of them will at least let you go down to interest only for the next 4 months. I would do nothing. I would settle for nothing less than 4 months of interest only, but I will absolutely ask for 4-month forgiveness. And if you're mandated to close, as someone just asked, if you're mandated to close, shoot, tell them they're not getting paid for 4 months. You'll be ready when the government lets us open back up. And they can kick and scream all they want, but do not take money out of your personal account to pay them. They are not going to be able to foreclose on you in that time. Set those payments aside at your house and know you may owe them at some point, but your bank will have to work with you. They have to work with you. They have to work with you. They will. It's bad business not to. It's just like you. You're going to work with most families regardless of what they tell you. They're going to do this. They're going to do the same thing for you. So start there. Start with the mortgage.
Okay, and if you have third-party landlords, same thing. What are we going to go to our landlords and ask for? 4 months of no rent?
Yeah, and the landlords are proven to be more difficult than the banks, in my opinion. If you have a local or a local investor or somebody that's the landlord, that's kind of pretty easy. It's the REITs and the national companies are a little bit difficult to work with right now. I can tell you the most difficult vendor I am working with currently is a billboard company. They are, these guys their money's filtered through 3 or 4 different companies, and they're not budging on their contracts right now. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to pay them. It just means that they're not budging on a deal yet. So you need to, get with your salesperson for landlords. Or whatever they call your account representative with your REIT if you're dealing with a national company, and start talking. But they have room to work with you, and at the very least, you need 120 days of relief. They've already sat in meetings and discussed this. They have something prepared to offer you. So listen to their offer and ask for a little bit more.
Yeah, so I will say that is exactly right. This is what we went through in 2009 to 12. A landlord does not want an empty building. And so to speak from this personally, I'm a landlord. I own 3 childcare buildings. And I have not gotten a call, but I'm fully prepared. And I hope they're not on this webinar because I already thought about that. I do not want them to not do well in my building and leave me an empty building. So some thoughts might be, what do I want? Mostly, I'd love to have a couple of the leases extended. So I would probably propose to pay me, reduce the payment down to my mortgage payment and then redo the leases and give me more time. Another idea might be to offer to pay the property taxes if you're not already. Maybe offer to work the difference in the rent into 6 months from now. We'll spread that out over the length of the lease. So get creative here, but that's exactly right. They are thinking about it. They do not want an empty building, and this is a great time to do that. Do it sooner than later. Other thoughts on that, Thad?
I was answering questions and wasn't listening to you, Kathy.
You are not listening. You missed such important information, Thad. I do appreciate.
I was answering. All the questions are popping up, so I'm just trying to answer and be diligent.
I saw that. I think that's fantastic. And this last slide, actually, I think we talked about, so I want to be sure we do hit all the questions. And the last one refers to the fact that Thad talked about that if most everyone has been very prosperous the last couple of years. If that's you should be in pretty good shape. You should be in pretty good shape to figure this out and weather this storm, and then look for the opportunity. So we want to continue to hear from you guys about what you see out there. But we believe that we have some recovery help on the way. We think it's going to be significant, and we think that you guys are going to be fine. So watch it day by day, look for information. That I see that you have been answering questions as we've been going in. And perhaps Carrie could tell me whether everyone can see everyone's questions and answers. Is that right, Carrie?
I'm not sure if they can. On the chat, I think they can, but I'm not sure about the questions and answers.
Right. Okay, well, a couple more questions, and let's just look at the chat a little bit. So there are a lot of questions about how to access SBA. Someone on our chat, you guys will see a more tab in chat is there. Someone posted the link for you guys. So that's there if you need it. If you have any trouble seeing that, certainly reach back out to us. You can see thank you for telling me that you can see the questions and answers if you click on the Q&A tab. So thank you for that, and to Thad for answering those. What about landlords? Hopefully we covered that. We think Thad's funny. Agree. He's hilarious. We love him and his sense of.
Who was that?
That was Carrie.
Who was it?
Carrie
I was hoping it was somebody else. Everybody should have chimed in about
that. We've got some people asking specifically about certain states. We won't go into that here, but please reach back out. We'll try to get you connected with people in your state. Let's see if I'm seeing some overriding themes here. We're calling Neil for our discount. We'll give you that phone number if you like to know how to get in touch with Better Beans. The recording will be available later today, as we said. We've got the SBA link here, and a couple that we haven't gotten to yet. Do we point our preschool families to their own employers to apply for FMLA, or can we help them and point them to a website to start applying? You know the answer to that, Thad?
Again, I'm not listening to you.
Okay, if there's a family who's home taking care of their child that qualifies for
FMLA. Yeah, there's some. So until the stimulus bill passes, we don't know how the FMLA is going to go. Right now, you have to grant them unpaid FMLA. I believe in the initial passing of it, we still will owe them for 2 weeks of that. But I would wait. But if they took FMLA right now, I believe the majority of it's unpaid. Whereas if we wait, that may be something that's covered and paid for 12 weeks. So I would wait.
Right. And someone's asking if we can point families to that, or do they go through their own employer? Well, I would say their own employer. We don't know all the answers to that yet, correct?
Yeah, we don't know the answers enough yet.
Okay. And someone's asking if the SBA disaster loan would help cover employee salaries. That's working capital loans. You can use that for any business expense. Our landlords at church, should we approach them for a break in the rent just like any other landlord? Ed?
Say it again. I'm going to quit looking at the Q&A. I'm just going to listen to you now.
The landlord is a church. Should they approach the church just like any other landlord?
Oh, 100%. Yes, actually more. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. Someone was asking what the SBA loan was called. On the chat, we have the link to it, so I think you'll find that. If they defer their mortgage, is it typical that their credit score would take a hit?
It shouldn't at this point, but you know that different things are going out on the stimulus package about what happens. But if you renegotiate your loans, that you're not going to have any problems on your credit score.
Right.
If they agree to the renegotiation. Again, you always get all these deals in writing.
Yeah, Thad, how are you thinking about, this is a good question, how are you thinking about possible lawsuits from parents? What scares you the most?
I'm not scared at all of lawsuits.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, like this is a worldwide event. People are well aware of the risks on all sides. You're not forcing employees to work as long as you're not doing that. There's no problem there, and you're not forcing families to bring their kids there. So, I mean, they can sue all they want, but I'm not worried about defending myself, and nor am I worried about the outcome of that.
Right. Agree with that. We've got questions about business interruption insurance. Two things. I don't think you can obtain it now to cover this, but also it doesn't cover issues like this. Is that your understanding, Thad?
Yeah, it doesn't cover. There's some, there's some people out there that are saying, hey, we should think about pressing our insurance companies, even though they don't cover it. That, back during Katrina, all these guys were in flood zones and things like that, and they were told it wasn't going to cover it. And then eventually they had to pay a settlement anyway. I mean, guys, that type of stuff is so far out in the future. I can't begin to think we're going to recover it. But our policies are pretty clear. Our business interruption doesn't cover this. We should have known that as business owners, and there's no reason to go try to get more out of the insurance companies than they agreed to originally, in my opinion.
Right. Also, the question: it's a landlord's of public schools. Should you ask for rent forgiveness? Let's just say it doesn't matter who your landlord is. This is the time to do that.
Yes.
We Charlie, we'll do our best after the stimulus bill is passed to help you guys with more information. We're watching that. Someone signed on late. Yes, this is being recorded. You can pick it up later today. Rhonda, thank you that her husband is an attorney and super risk adverse, and he's confident that we have little to no liability in interactions here. So thank you for that. One more, let's take one more, and I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's time. And I know that you guys are really busy, and Thad especially, but if the school is shut down, a forced shutdown, what do you recommend for personnel? I think I probably could sum that up in you are paying them. Right, Thad?
Without an end in sight. And I mean, again, everything with personnel depends on the stimulus package for small business for me. So I can't give an answer on that until I know what is happening with the stimulus. I would definitely continue to pay them for a couple of weeks. I would commit to that, but until I know what's going on with the stimulus, I'm not doing anything. And you know, so that's going to depend on a lot of it.
Right. Okay. I said that was the last one, but one more. Are you seeing, or do you believe that the SBA will defer interest on loans or even do loan forgiveness?
I don't think they're going to do loan forgiveness. I hope they don't. I think that'll cripple the economy for a long time. But I do think they should do I do think they'll do interest forgiveness, or interest deferral. Not deferral. There will be no interest for a year. That's my opinion.
Right. I think we're about to see things happen that have never happened before that will help us all. I do like what I hear in mainstream media about the recognition that our industry is getting as vital, as critical to the economy in whole, that our employees are being recognized for what they do and as essential and hazardous, providing those services right now. So the PR around this is really positive, and I think, again, that we'll continue to see some things that will help you guys out. To the extent that we can, we'll keep information flowing out. That I might pick on you more in the next coming days and weeks, and we really appreciate you sharing your strategies. And for the people that didn't get their questions answered, we will circulate those and do our best to get everybody's questions answered and more opinion of strategy as we see what's coming out of Washington. Anything else you want to add, Thad?
No, just that this group of the folks in this industry just continue to blow me away with their attention to detail, their commitment to their staff, their commitment to their families. You know, I'm just kind of blown away with their level of dedication. So thank you to each of you guys, and thank you for all these questions. I'll try to stay on and type my answers to any questions that pop up. I've given you a full hour, and I think I was logged off for 15 or 20 minutes. So I'll give another 10 minutes or so finishing typing out the answers to these questions. And we'll encourage you. I put my email, thad@betterbeansbranding.com, and my cell phone number, which is 770-380-0387. I put it over there in the chat boxes. Email me any question, anytime, any place. Call me anytime, anything. I love talking to all the different business owners right now. It's helpful. So send me anything, anytime. I'm available.
We'll leave the line open for about 10 more minutes so you guys can send your questions over, and thank you for offering that, Thad.
No problem. I'm going to try to type the rest of them.
Okay. All right. Stay safe, friends. Be well. Also reach out to us if there's anything we can do. Again, we don't know everything. We're navigating just like you are, but we'll do our best to know what the questions are, try to get you to some resources and information as it comes out. Take care. Thank you for joining.